Hello out there in Tombo land. Today I'll start with a unique project. It's an Hayabusa. This is something that everybody that likes sport bikes and speed can get into. And our project is going to be a little bit different. We're going to show you how to tear the motor down and put the motor back together using a variety of parts that's available through some of Tombo partners. So if you want to, grab a seat, some popcorn, and we're going to get to work. Yeah, one of the first things that I'm going to start doing is pulling the valve cover off this motor right here and start inspecting everything that we got to do. So what I like to do is take a breaker bar and break everything like so, get it all loose. Then I come back and pull that loose and use my DeWalt impact to pull the bolts the rest of the way out. And once you get those out, you come over here, pop your valve cover up, and you kind of wiggle it. And be careful not to tear up your oil ring base also. On these Suzuki motors, they got the inspection hole right here. So what I want to do is line this little slot up with the cams right there. And there it is. As you can see, right there, there's the reference mark right in there, and that hole right there. And you can see the little groove cut in there, and you can see the line right there. Where you can see where the arrows 1 and 2, that's for the cam timing, or straight with the mating surface of the cylinder head. And then you can also look right here. It's little slots that's cut into the cams, where you can also look and see that they perpendicular with the surface. The first thing we're doing on these cams, I'm taking the cam chain tensioner guide off, and I'm placing it in this little plastic baggie right here, so I can keep everything together, because you want to keep that's the key thing for putting it back together, is keeping all your parts together. And I set it over here on the workbench right here, where all of this stuff right here, all the components that come off of this motor right here, is going to be labeled and bagged. And next thing I'm going to do again, I'm going to break all of these bolts on the cams holders here. And then I'm going to use my impact to bring them off. But one of the things that you want to do, you want to take these out evenly. You don't want to take one out real fast and the other one out. You want to take all this stuff out, because you don't want to damage the threads taking this stuff loose. It's just as important the way you take it apart, because it can hinder you when you get ready to put it together, because you can cause tension to be on everything when you put it back together, because you took them out too fast and stripped the bolt. You don't want to do that. So I take this one out right here. One of the unique things about these Busa motors right here, they keep the motors so cool, is they bathe in oil. And one of the new things that Suzuki came out with years ago, where they make this transfer tube right here that pumps oil and keeps the cam bathing in oil all the time. That's something that Suzuki and some of the newer bikes have employed over the years, and keep the cams from burning up. That's one of the things I'm going to show you, because this little tube right here and the way the oil system works on it, is this is something that Suzuki employed that helps the motor builder and the owner and the cam manufacturers tremendously. Now we're removing the cylinder head. Right now we're taking one of the oilers off of the cylinder head that's bolted to the bottom of the motor, which is, this is the oil journal right here that pushes the oil up to the top of the motor, which oils this whole top end. Now we already broke these cylinder head bolts loose, so now we're just taking them out. Yeah, these, I'm pulling the head studs out right now, and normally on a good motor, you know, a motor that's going to make, say, 400 horsepower or more, 350 horsepower or more, I like to use aftermarket studs. Well, these stock bolts right here, they stretch a little bit, and you can normally torque these down to about 55 inch-pounds. But with the aftermarket studs, we can go 62 pounds. So, you know, it's a lot. It all depends on the kind of application that the customer is going to use it on. All right, now we're ready to pull the cylinder head off. Okay. You got to be careful not to get the, you got two tensioners in there, so you make sure that you leave one sitting right there. So you got to be careful not to do that. You know, I always like to let my cylinder head sit there for a second to let it drip the excess oil and pull the head gasket. And the head gasket is real important. We're going to be putting a new head gasket on here, and the head gasket that we're going to be putting on here is going to be an aftermarket head gasket, and it has a stainless ring built into the head gasket, which sandwiches when you torque it down. When you torque this thing down to 50, 60 pounds, you want it to hold all your compression in and get a good seal, because, you know, not only are you just working with the compression here, you got, this motor's also got water and antifreeze in it, so you got to make sure you got a real good seal. Most important, head gasket. And then when we come back, we're going to take this cylinder head right here, we're going to send it to the shop. And the thing about this cylinder head that we're going to do, we're going to have this cylinder head ported and polished. And what the port and polish is going to do, and we're going to have it flow checked. What that's going to do is keep the ports consistent. Whatever the factory made, we want to check that to make sure it's good before we even port it. My guy's going to flow check everything. But once he ports it, all the ports are going to be even in check, so it'll have a nice flow evenly, so that way this bike right here will hold the mill. Now we're taking the pistons off of the rods here now, and ain't no need of inspecting these pistons because we're just going to use them for ashtrays anyway, or somebody that's got a turbo bike or something might call me one day, so they can use them, you know, but they only last that long. But we're looking at the rods here now, and these are stock rods right here. We're going to utilize these stock rods right here, not because we don't want to put no big ones in it, but these stock rods right here, they good right here up to 350 horsepower, sometimes 375. And the aftermarket rods, which are a little more beefier and stronger, they can go. I done seen some of these booster motors already make exceed over 500 horsepower. But for what we're gonna do, ride it on the street and go to the track, these stock ones will work just fine. Now we're taking the starter assembly apart here, you know, and just take a little time right here, pop it, you know, pull it all loose. This is something that Suzuki fixed and helped everybody out, because now instead of a solid gear, they built these starters where they got all of these like tensioner gears in there now. And what this is way better than what they had, because what the starter gear does now, it flexes, it absorbs, so that it doesn't hurt the big motors now. It doesn't break all the start off. In the beginning, in the 99, in the 2003, all of these right here, you was seeing everybody with a Suzuki with a Hayabusa had starter problems. Well, they did fix this problem right here. Now we're pulling the clutch cover off right now, taking all the bolts out so we can pull the clutch off. Now, any of you weekend racers that go to the track, I know you well familiar with pulling your clutch apart here. So we're pulling it out because we're going to inspect it, and we're going to put some hop-up parts in it also. Go over here to the workbench right here, The next thing we're going to do here, we got 6 bolts here. We're going to use the wrench right here, pull them out. You want to pull them out evenly because this is your clutch right here. Right here, cross from each other, because you don't want to put any of these springs in a bind and make everything pop off at you. If you notice on these last 2 how I kind of went a little bit because I didn't want it to pop off at me. Now we come back here, a little screwdriver, start pulling the clutch out. And with this motor is going to get a new clutch right here. Anyway, as you can see, I'm pulling the clutch, and you can see where the steels on this thing have got hot before, and they all burnt, and just this is just another good clutch. And then we're going to start replacing parts in it. You know, the needle bearings look fine. This helps you. And we're going to take this big nut off, and then we're going to get rid of this right here. As you can see right here, this is something that Suzuki did when they built this bike right here, because this GXXR 1340 that they built right here, this wasn't built actually for us drag racers. This right here was built more or less for a touring bike. So this is a 2-stage type lockup clutch they got in it. So when you release it, it's got to get a turn before it actually starts to engage. But what we're going to do, it's a bunch of different companies out there that make modification kits for this clutch, and we're going to use one of them. This is something that everybody needs to know, how to put a clutch in and how to take a clutch out. Okay, now we're pulling the clutch basket out of this 08 Hayabusa now. Here's the oil pump gears right here. Back there, they come off the basket also. And you want to inspect the basket now to see what we have to do to it. And the basket, you know, is tamarine right now, as you can see. And the reason this basket does that right there on the stock bike, what this basket does right here, these work as shock absorbers for you when you release the clutch right here. And if you didn't have these springs in there, when you release the clutch, it would just tear all the gears out of your transmission. But this right here, these new bikes are so fast that they real hard on the clutch baskets and the springs right here. So what we're gonna do is have this right here remodified right here, and what they'll do is take this basket, this blacking plate off of here, and put new springs in here, which are a little bit stronger. So when you release the clutch, it moves a little bit, but doesn't allow it to move real fast and stuff. So this is one of the things that we got to replace, because you see how tamarine it is. All it takes is one good Saturday night at the track, or one good Saturday night on the street with Leroy, and you'll be busted. All right, for this installment right here, this is as far as we taking this 08 Busa motor right here down right here, because we're going to take in, the only thing different that we're going to do for it is pull the oil pan and put an oil pressure bypass in, a high pressure oil pressure bypass in it. These Suzuki GXXR motors, they got such a good bottom end, a good transmission, but this is going to be mostly street. So we ain't gonna go in the bottom end and do a bunch of stuff to it. But if it was gonna be a race motor, we'll put an undercut transmission in it and put rods and so on and so on. It's unlimited to the modification we could do to the bottom. But for this motor right here, we just simply gonna put pistons in it, new gaskets, port and polish the head and a set of cams. Just those modifications alone will take this motor right here from going 9s to going 8s and still being able to ride it on the street and still be able to maintain a good amount of street ability. And we're going to be modifying the clutch also in it. But for the next segment, be here when we have it built up.